Day is brought to you by Barton Community College. Explore your future and get started now. Visit gobarton.com.
Okay, Sports Day in 3, 2, 1.
Well, listen, I think everybody can't wait to see what you are. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes every year. What you're capable of, and we're lucky to have a good opponent to do that against in Arizona.
Their defense is porous at best. So now they're going to have to earn it. And everybody last year, when they lost in the Super Bowl, everybody started playing them in zone. But now, without Tyreek Hill, you don't even have to worry about wasting your best corner. Who are you wasting your best corner on? Valdez Scanlon?
The WAC's going to be fun this year. It was intense the whole way through. Very, very tight matches against both Liberal and Garden. We all went 1-1, so it'll be interesting to see.
I think he'll overcome it. I think he'll play well, and they'll find ways to move the ball up and down the field. But he's going to be jacked up early. He's going to be excited. He's going to want to go in there and play well.
I'll certainly look at it, but in the end, it's not going to matter if we don't continue to win. So as long as we keep winning, we control our own destiny.
Sad, yeah. Obviously, so thankful for 20 years here. I'm going to miss it so much.
And driven to left field and deep. This one is long gone. It hit the concourse. It's a 3-run home run. It's a walk-off for Randall Gritchen.
That's a shot that's well hit in dead center field. It's out by the wall. That one is out of here. Mike Trout, first ball swinging, connects.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Sports Day, and for whatever reason, they have decided to let the kids run the controls again. The teacher is gone.
We did so well Friday.
Is that what it is? Oh, yeah, we missed all of the sounds of the past 24 hours. I'm the Hesh. He's Mike Corson, as we're going to call it now, I guess, to maybe keep things going straight. You had a little bit of headlines from yesterday for high school sports?
Yeah, busy week. Busy home week for Great Bend tennis. So yesterday they were out at Shannon Sharp's courts. Larned was in town. Larned actually won 3 of the 4 brackets, but Great Bend right there with them. The #1 doubles team, Samantha Mayers and Taylor Lashley, went 3-0. Kaylin Wallmeyer and Lakin Smith as the singles players each went 2-1. And for Larned, their 2 singles players, Abby Holt and Ella McNett, went 3-0.
Okay. Coming up on Sports Day today, I am Mike Escher. I'm the Hesh, and then there's Mike Corson across the way. Steve Webster is off today. He's out of the office, so hopefully we'll have a better showing than we did last Friday. It was a little bit of a struggle, but sounds of the past 24 hours. First off was Andy Reid, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's game week in KC, where the Chiefs and head coach Andy Reid are preparing for their season opener Sunday in Arizona against the Cardinals. Up next was Bart Scott from ESPN. He says the AFC West this season will arguably be the toughest division in the NFL. All 4 teams will not be able to make the playoffs. So who is Bart Scott leaving out? The Kansas City Chiefs, which probably won't sit well from around here.
I think what we call those are hot takes.
Okay.
Somebody gets paid to make hot takes.
Well, and you can say anything you want. If they didn't record it and nobody saves it, who will remember in December?
Somebody recorded it. We got audio.
Well,
but to his credit, that is a really tough division.
Oh, there's no question.
Normally, it might be a little bit more wide open, but this year it might be legit to say. It's still a hot take to say Kansas City's the weak team in there, but...
we have to do our picks, on seasons. I did mine last night. I did it very briefly. I did not realize the Chiefs has as tough a schedule as they do. Holy moly.
Every one of those road games in the division is going to be tough.
Oh, yeah.
But,
go ahead.
I mean, they're the ones with the playoff experience. They're still the team to beat.
They're a team to beat till they get beaten. But, I know the Denver faithful are pretty jacked about Russell Wilson. And then you got Hubert in L.A. and then Derek Carr in Las Vegas. That's an amazing quarterback quintet or foursome.
It might be my hot take that the Chargers are the bad team in the bunch. The Raiders you kind of think of, but you just keep hearing that they might be a shocking pick. It's kind of fun to root for Derek Carr. He's always been an underdog.
Well, San Diego always seems to have a way of losing in the end. I mean, that's, it's one of those deals. There's nothing against them. That just happens to be that way. And then we had a cut from Shelley Duvall as well, which you talked about a bit already.
Yeah, so she said the WAC was competitive. They went out to Liberal and played Garden, or they went out to Garden and played Liberal and Garden City. All three teams went 1-1. I think all the sets were competitive. But last night they went out and played Dodge City in a best-of-5. Not so close. So I think we've seen some separation there in the WAC. But Great Bend wins 25-12, 25-20, 25-10.
Coming up on the show today, I will talk with the new head coach of the Ellinwood Eagles as the Eagles come away with a victory on Friday night over Syracuse 53-0. He's in his first year. And, of course, I have forgotten his name right off the top of my head. Brent Stindt, I believe it is. But Brett Stindt is the new head coach at Ellinwood. We also talked to your Mike Corson on the prowl. Talks to...
We've got Great Bend soccer coach Chuy Loera.
And I'm just going to go with Coach Chuy. I've been told that's acceptable. I'm not going to try anything else. So, and we also will talk with the radio voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers, Gerard Wellbrok, in a little about 10 after 1 or so, as Fort Hays State off to a tough loss to Northwest Missouri. Other sports the last 24 hours included Eli Manning. He is now we were talking about how Russell Wilson will respond to playing against Seattle in Seattle. That will be interesting.
That game and the Browns and Panthers are, to me, the highlight of Week 1.
And then Ryan Day from Ohio State, he's the head coach. Polls don't matter as long as they keep winning, according to the head coach, Ryan Day. Ohio State did drop to third in this week's poll behind Alabama and Georgia. And then you heard from Sue Bird from the Seattle Storm. Emotions as she left the court for the last time. And then a couple of walk-offs, at least for the Colorado Rockies. That call on KOA as Randall Gritchick hit a home run to the left field, scoring Jonathan Diaz and Charlie Blackman in the bottom of the 10th inning as the Rockies came back to beat the Brewers 10-7. And there's a couple notes about the Iuka Hustlers. That will be Webby's fantasy baseball team. But we're going to leave that out because Webby's not here. And then the last one was Mike Trout's home run. He hit a solo home run as to dead center field in the bottom of the first inning. And, the Iuka Hustlers lead the Dighton Diggers 6-4 in the Week 21 matchup of fantasy baseball. This is the final game before the playoffs begin. So if I have to talk a little bit about the Iuka Hustlers, we're going to get some Premier Soccer League in there eventually sometime.
Yeah, and we'd have to go back to 2013 when this time of year was fun for Royals fans, when we were kind of in the mix. And right. You get into 14 and 15. But I tell you what, it was 4-1 last night. Basalvi, 2 best pop times of the year, the last 2 games. He has thrown absolute dimes down to second base. He hit the home run last night, was their only run. So it's kind of bad baseball, but it's still kind of entertaining.
And the pop you talk about is basically the throw from home plate behind when the pitch comes into second base. I've never heard it referred to that. Am I understanding that right?
I don't know if it stands for something, but it is definitely the time I think it pops in his glove to the time he fires it off.
Okay.
And so they said by this time in the year, most catchers are beat up, and granted he had some time off, but...
And you also had some nuggets from betting, as we now have betting available in the state of Kansas. And can you enlighten us with some of these? I'm Mike Hesher. That's Mike Corson. We're in for Steve Webster today on Sports Day.
I thought about throwing some of that free money they're advertising on Ohio State. So the spread there was 17-5. And, of course, it's low scoring. They come in way under the under of 58. They scored 31 points. But Ohio State gets the ball about 4.5 minutes left, ahead 11. So do the math. If they go down the field and score, that's 18 points. They beat the spread. And, of course, they run out the clock. And everybody who picked Ohio State got beat.
Well, and then yesterday, I know your significant other didn't like the way we were phrasing "get off my yard" this morning. I have some rebuttals to her, but I'll leave that go for now. But there was the Florida State game at LSU. It didn't really matter, but it was quite the ending.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, imagine if you had money on that. Florida State, all they got to do is nothing.
Right.
And they turn the ball over. LSU goes down and scores. All they got to do is kick an extra point, and the same guy who let the guy through on the punt the time before lets him through again and kicks blocked.
He
Florida
blocks
State
the extra
hangs
point.
on.
Oh, man. And Florida State won by a single point. They did not have to go to overtime.
Yeah, and the other one, though, Iowa, the over-under on that one was 44. And that was a 7-3 game, no touchdowns, 2 safeties.
That was interesting. I was going to mention that yesterday. They scored 2 safeties and a field goal, Iowa did. I wonder how often that's actually happened.
Especially in big boy football like the Big Ten.
Yeah. I mean, two safeties and a... Okay, well, so we're going to take a break, and I'll be back, and we'll talk with the head coach of the Ellinwood High School football team, who's off to a 1-0 start. You're listening to Sports Day on 1590 KBGB and 95.5 FM.
When you need to get rid of the pain, you want the best. You need to see Dr. Dan Quillen at Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Dr. Dan is Barton County's only board-certified clinical specialist in orthopedic physical therapy. No matter your age, when it hurts, he will help. Call Dan at 620-282-4825. That's 282-4825. Excellence-driven, unrivaled results. Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Inside the Fieldhouse at 9th and Madison and Great Bend.
Summer is here and we're bringing the heat. At Next Tech Wireless, you can get an iPhone SE 3rd Gen or the Samsung A53 on us. Or if you're looking for a little more, you can also get up to $529 off any other device, including the Samsung S22 Ultra or the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Come visit us at a location near you or call or text at 877-621-2600 for more information. Next Tech Wireless. We are Kansas.
Labor Day Customer Appreciation Sale going on now at Boone's Maytag. Huge Labor Day savings on all Maytag appliances. Stop in, shop Maytag appliances, and save big. All refrigerators, ranges, washers, dryers, dishwashers, freezers, and microwaves are on sale. Save an extra 10% off sale prices. Boone's Maytag. Depend on us. 10th and Jackson, Great Bend.
You can't buy better than Boone's. Be our guest.
Hurry in for best selection. Sale ends September 14th, 2022.
As long as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are together in Kansas City, they're going to be playoff contenders. That's it. Yeah, that's how it goes.
But what's always been the best defense for Kansas City is that offense.
Possession.
So now without Tyreek Hill, it won't be no easy. So now they're going to have to earn it.
Bart Struck. Do we believe for a second that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to make, Juju Smith-Schuster better? That they don't believe in Sky Moore a little bit?
ESPN Radio nights and weekends only on 1590 KBGB and 95.5 FM.
All right, good afternoon, and welcome back to Sports Day. I'm Mike Hesher, sitting in for Steve Webster on this Wednesday afternoon. We appreciate you all joining us. We're now going to go talk to the head coach of the Ellinwood Eagles, Brent Stindt. Brett is in his first year coaching at Ellinwood High School, and he was there last year as an assistant, but he's a first-year head man. And coming off a very good win, 53-0 over Syracuse. And, Coach, how did you get to be in Ellinwood?
I found myself in Ellinwood just through the grapevine of knowing some people and then the opportunities that it possessed. I'm actually a 4th grade teacher, so what I was looking for, I wanted to look for a 4th or 5th grade spot. And Ellinwood had 4th or 5th grade opening, and they also had assistant football, which were the 2 huge things that I was looking for.
And, Wilson, sure, you just told me before we went on the air that you're out at Ag Day, which is a big thing for Eagle Radio. How's it going out there?
It's awesome, especially I'm from Belleville, Kansas. So I grew up on a farm, like a 3rd-generation farm family. And for the kids to see what it takes to be a farmer, how you get the food from the field to the plate and how the processes work is huge. I think we brought 34 kids today, and just giving them the opportunity to see that and express, how important farming is amazing.
Yeah, and, I grew up in Larned. I won't say a farm person as well, but it's amazing how many people do not have an understanding of where the food comes from.
Yes, and this, I think, is a huge thing. I wish I had one of these when I was in school.
Okay. All righty. So, getting back to the football season, you're 1-0. I read somewhere where you had 7 returning starters that were juniors. So you guys were quite young last year, and you've only won 2 games in 3 years before this year, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So the 7 juniors coming back gives you a lot of experience to work with, I'm guessing.
Yes, it does, especially with a team that lacks numbers. These past few years, a lot of these kids have been playing since they were freshmen and sophomore. And a lot of other programs, freshmen and sophomores, don't really see the field very often due to the high number of upperclassmen. But these kids have had to step up into roles of leadership way before that they were ever expected to. And they stepped into that really well. So really, I have kids that are playing for third year who really should be playing for their first year as a starter. And it's amazing seeing the growth that they've gone through.
And how important do you think it was that you were here last year so they have some familiarity with you as a coach?
I think it's huge. I've been to different programs as a player and as well as I guess this is my only place I've been as a coach, but just seeing how new coaching arrangements and having new coaches come in, how it changes cultures, sometimes for the good and sometimes for the bad. But with me being here last year, I've been able to know a lot of these kids. I've got to kind of bond with some of these kids, understand who they are, where they're from, their backgrounds, and them knowing that I'm still here. I'm still here with them. I'm still here to support them. I think that that's a huge thing in the success that we've had already.
I did see where I was reaching, I think it was Sports in Kansas, or a magazine basically was saying, not to take away your 53-0 win over Syracuse, but the early season schedule is a lot easier than it was the past couple of years.
Yes, and that's something that, as a coach, I looked at a lot. Last year, yes, we were dealt the hand from somebody who didn't really like us, I would like to say. But, when we're playing for the top 5 teams in the state of Kansas, our first 4 games, it's hard for the kids. It's hard going out there knowing who you're going against and what they have to offer. But I always like to tell the kids this year is, that's gone and passed. We can't use it as an excuse as to why we lost those games. So it doesn't matter who we're dealt with, what hand they're handing us, but we should be able to go out there and beat and compete with anybody that is put on our schedule.
We're talking with the first-year head coach at Ellinwood High School, Brent Stindt. They're coming off a 53-0 win over Syracuse last Friday. Coach, a quick recap of the game. Who and what impressed you the most about your ball club?
Defensively, that's where I'd like to start. I always tell the kids defense wins ball game. We have a lot of kids that are seniors. Some that haven't played since freshman year, and some that actually our defensive player of the game hasn't played since 5th grade. So seeing some of these kids come out and do some amazing things was awesome. The one to highlight would probably be Cale Batchman. He's a senior. He's kind of an undersized guy. He's about 5'5", 5'6", I would say, roughly. I like to think I'm taller, so it makes me feel better. But he's about 160, 150 pounds, and he's our nose tackle up front. He ended the game with 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 10 tackles total. So just seeing kids who have not had those opportunities or been given opportunities to play the game of football and then taking full advantage is huge. But like I said earlier, I would love to just put it right on the defense. We gave up 27 total yards. We gave up 15 passing and 12 rushing, and I think that's just a statement made by them. That's not something coaching can do. It's all built off the kids.
I'm not going to argue that one. A shutout is always an impressive. And you had one quote in the article that I read, and I'm kind of paraphrasing. You said small wins will produce team wins. And I understand what you got to get. Those individual wins will also produce team wins, correct?
Correct, yes. This team they've been with each other for a long time, that junior group has, and I just think that if we can win the small things, like our big thing was we don't give up a touchdown on special teams on the other team. So if we can hold them to that, that's a victory. And those small little victories add to big victories later.
Okay, we're talking with the head coach of Ellinwood, Brent Stindt. He's in his first year as the head coach, coming off a win over Syracuse 53-0 last Friday. You take on Douglas on this Friday. What do you know about Douglas?
Douglas, they did come off a win against Belle Plaine. Douglas is more of a spread out. They run more of like a power option with a lot of motion up front on offense. So like a lot of things we're telling our kids is to stay your ground, know your assignments. And this week in practice, going over their offense, our defense has been all over the place, flying around, hitting people. And it's an amazing feeling to see. Defensively, we don't know yet. We run more of an uptight downhill football. And the Belle Plaine team that they played against is more of a spread. So it'll be interesting to see what they come out in. But we've already talked to the kids, and they already told us, I had an offensive lineman tell me, it doesn't matter what they give us, Coach, we're just going to run the ball all day. So,
well, you got to like that attitude. There's no question about that.
Yes, I love it. That's what I wanted the kids to build on themselves. I don't really push it too often, but they've bought into it, and they're kind of owning the situations that we have now.
Well, Coach, good luck, and hopefully we'll talk to you in the near future.
That sounds great. Thank you for having me on.
You bet. That's Brett Stindt. He's the head coach of the Ellinwood Eagles. You're listening to Sports Talk on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. We'll be right back with more Sports Day after this.
Hey, you want to hear some good news? Venture Corporation is still hiring for laborers, flaggers, equipment operators, CDL A and B drivers, and mechanics. And if you're ready to make some money, call Leslie at Venture.
Thought about getting your CDL? Venture will train the right candidate. Higher starting wages, on-the-job training, excellent benefits, and you get paid for traveling throughout the state. Venture Corporation on South Highway 281 in Great Bend is an equal opportunity employer.
Sports Day presents On the Prowl with Mike Corson, an inside look at all the sports taking place at Great Bend High School.
And welcome back to Sports Day, 1590 KVGB, 95.5 FM. Great Bend High School varsity coach Chuy Loera is back with us today. Weird start to the season. Nobody wants to play 20 minutes of a big game. So you guys had Liberal Thursday, 19 minutes in, down 1-0, and then a little bit of lightning.
Yeah, a little bit of lightning. It was a delay. It was the first for me. We've been in lightning delays before, but never to the point where we couldn't get back and actually finish the game. So that was a first-time situation for me. And, yeah, it's a little frustrating when you can't get back into the game, especially when you feel like you're starting to pick up some momentum and some things are starting to go your way. And I'm pretty confident that we would have been pretty close, if not found that equalizer before that half ended had we been able to go out there. But, hey, it's part of it. I guess safety's top priority, and everybody went safe, so that's good.
They send you back to the cars for 30 minutes, and then the rainbow pops up, and, okay, we'll be back in 30 minutes, and then pandemonium.
Yeah, it just downpour, side winds, and, yeah, it didn't work out too well. And, of course, we wanted to make sure Liberal got home safe as well, so we decided that, hey, it's better just reschedule this thing.
And so you're going to make this up in October? And you've got some special rules probably to deal with the makeup game?
Yeah, so October 18th, we were already scheduled because we do a home and away with every conference opponent. And so October 18th, we're going to go down there. And the Acacia rule is that you have to play at least a minimum of one half, and it's considered a full game. So there was 21 minutes, 44 seconds left in that game. So when we go to Liberal next, instead of JV going on first like they usually do, varsity's going to go on. The clock's going to start with 21:44. They're going to have a one-goal lead. And to meet the requirement of one half, we're going to play the remaining 21 minutes, and hopefully we can find an equalizer or even better, 2 goals to be in the lead and win that game. And then JV will go on, and then eventually we'll go back on and play the regularly scheduled game. So we're going to get a game and a quarter that day.
And hopefully October's a little cooler, so we won't be dealing with 95 degrees and humidity.
Yeah, I hope so, especially being on turf. That it's always seems like it's 10 degrees hotter.
Talk about some of the kids you had in the first game out. Anyone you were pleased with in game one?
Yeah, Jaden Hartshorn played awesome. I mean, that kid, he's always full speed, but it's good to see him start to settle in. Last year he got some minutes as a varsity player, and this year he's really starting to settle in and, really exceed in that role, actually putting some passes together and, being a force back there, cleaning things up.
And then when I was an indoor coach, all of my success depended on the keeper. How big is the keeper to high school varsity outdoor soccer?
Huge, especially yesterday when they started off fast. Liberal did, and they started getting some early shots in. And Mario Enriquez did a fantastic job of keeping that. And we let one in early, but it could have been 5 more, maybe 4 more if he didn't play as well as he did. Which, not surprising. That kid, he's just a force in that goalkeeper position, and that's why he plays there. And so he kept us in the game, and eventually we picked up steam ourselves and started putting some shots on their goalkeeper and challenging him a little bit. And we didn't find an equalizer, but like I said, I was confident that we would eventually.
We're here with Great Bend High School varsity soccer coach Chuy Loera. 2 games into the Titan Classic in Wichita. Got the Maize Eagles coming up Saturday. What do you know about them?
Yeah, after 2 tough games, now we've got Maize Eagles, and I know they're kind of in a rebuild situation similar to we are. 2 years prior, I believe they won 13 games, and last year they won around 6 or 7 as well, I believe, and so they're kind of in a rebuild situation. So I think we're going to match up pretty well with them, and it's going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. And so we just got to now that we've got a few games under our belt, hopefully we can start cleaning things up really well and really start playing some smart soccer and get another win.
I'm going to go back to this weather thing. I've covered soccer, played soccer a little bit. Wind is always a factor in Kansas. Good thing or bad thing to go into the wind first?
Well, you have to learn how to deal with it either way because you're going to have it most of the time. I mean, it's Kansas. You're going to have wind, so you learn how to play with and against the wind. If you've got the wind behind you, you have to learn how to kind of just adjust the weight of the pass or how fast you pass it. I mean, if you put too much weight behind it, it's going to go too fast and the player's not going to catch it. If you're playing against the wind, you probably don't want to send the ball in the air too much, especially if you go against the wind, it's going to send it right back to you, and so it's going to have kind of a boomerang effect. So it definitely affects how you play, and you have to learn how to play with and without the wind here in Kansas.
All right, Chuy Loera, Great Bend High School Soccer, 0-0 because of the rain. Busy at the Titan Classic this week. Good luck against Mays, and we'll see you next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, more coming up on Sports Day.
The Barton County Sheriff and Great Bend Police Department announce a public auction of forfeited and abandoned vehicles, including a 2016 Mercedes C-Class, 2009 Ford Edge, 2014 F-150, 2011 Mustang, 97 GMC Sierra, 96 Firebird, 2000 Blazer four-wheel drive, and more, plus surplus tools, office furniture, shelving, and lots more. Auction is Thursday, September 15th at 4 p.m. at the Sheriff's Gun Range just east of Barton College on Juco Road. Don't miss the Barton County Sheriff and Great Bend Police Forfeiture Sale.
Sports Day on 1590 KVGB takes you now to Northwest Kansas for everything Fort Hays State Tigers and more. And now, Gerard Wellbrok.
Okay, thank you, JJ. I like the way JJ talks. Joining us, as JJ talked about, is the longtime play-by-play voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers. 21 years, because I listed last week, and you replaced Wyatt Thompson. So 21 years at Fort Hays, right?
21 years. I actually replaced Webby.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Wyatt started at K-State the same year because that's when Webby left. So, yeah, 21 years.
Okay. Well, I have to thank you because during COVID, I had done some relocating to Colorado. I took a sabbatical out there. And even before COVID, you were a lifeline to Fort Hays State for me because the football team was fairly decent at that time. And maybe we'll talk football here in a little bit. But you were my connection to Fort Hays State is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's kind of roll with the job, I think, for a lot of people. That's, I think, what makes it so much fun is to be that connection and part of it. So I'm glad to hear that. Glad we could provide that for you.
Well, and I don't know who provided it, but as I was I was with the 84-85 national championship teams, and listening to those during COVID, this was specifically during COVID, you guys were replaying those, and let me tell you, that brought back a lot of memories for me. I will admit to having a few tears sometimes listening to those semifinals and finals games from Kemper Arena in Kansas City.
Yeah, that was fun to go back and relive those. I remember those games as well, and that was neat to hear some of those games of the past and the voices of the past. That was pretty cool, and of course, Fort Hays has such a tradition in really all sports, but that basketball there in the early to mid 80s and even really throughout the 80s was pretty special. That was fun to relive all that.
Of course, 95 or 96 wasn't too bad either. But
was not a bad year, I would agree.
Yes. Okay. So the Fort Hays State football team, they went to Maryville, Missouri on Thursday, and they lost 33-19. They start the season 0-1. And what were your observations from that contest right quick?
It was an interesting game, kind of woulda, coulda, shoulda stands out because Fort Hays did a lot of really good things. They had some really bad miscues and turnovers, and you just break. If you have one less turnover or one less turnover at a key spot. I mean, I think they're in that game to the very end. It kind of set the tone. The penalty on the opening kick, which was a great kick return. Out across the 35, you start at your own 14, give up a short field and a score because you fumble. I thought they settled in. When Northwest had to drive the field, they didn't. Fort Hays drops a wide open touchdown pass. A tight end who's going to be really good, a freshman, redshirt freshman. He may never have a more easy catch in his career. You score there, you're up 10-7 early second quarter, and how much different does that game feel? But even so, they overcame that, had the lead. But really, the last 4 minutes of the first half, first couple of possessions of the third quarter was the ball game. A 21-yard punt resulted in a short field. They give up a field goal, and then the Tigers fumble the ensuing kickoff, which they had returned deep into Bearcat territory. I think they're going to score on that possession. Instead, you give it back, and then Northwest gets a touchdown, and now all of a sudden you've given up 13 unanswered. Then it becomes 20 unanswered because you give up a touchdown on the first possession. You can't give a team Northwest caliber 3 consecutive possessions, and that's basically what Fort Hays State did. The offense had a little spurt there where they went dormant, and it was just too much to overcome. I thought they battled to the very end, and I think it's a lot of things that can be cleaned up. I still think it's got a chance to be a really good football team, but you just can't make those mistakes. So, and there's a lot of new faces, a lot of young faces playing for the first time, and I'm sure that lended to some of that. So hopefully lesson learned, and they can take from it and get better. But it was a tough one because I think they did enough good things and showed enough good things where they would have been right there in that football game.
Yeah, you kind of stole my thunder there, Gerard. I was going to say, by my count, there were 2 turnovers in the first half that accounted for 10 points for Northwest Missouri, and a team of Northwest Missouri State's caliber, well, you can't do that at all.
No, they're just too good, and they're always good defensively, and the offense moved the ball, did some good things, but they had a couple of possessions. They went 3 and out, and just were bad on first down and put themselves into one of them was when they were pinned a little deep. They get taken down to the backfield for a sack, and now it's 2nd and 17, and there was just too much to overcome. But you're right. To be the drop touchdown pass in that early in the second quarter, because you take the lead, even though they came back and took the lead, I think it just changes the feel of the game. And to me, the kick return, the fumble on the kick return, even though after everything that went wrong, if they don't fumble that kick return, they're in a position to at least get a field goal. And I think you go into the halftime locker room feeling, you know what, we survived it, we're okay. And that didn't happen. You give up a touchdown, and now you're in a world of hurt. If you hang on to that, and who knows, he had one guy to beat. The ball got jarred away, free from behind. He may have found a way to score. I mean, it was still on his feet when he fumbled it. So just some bad luck there. And he's going to be a good running back. He showed that during the game. And I think, a lot of making about the team throwing it 61 times. I don't put a whole lot of stock into that. They had to abandon the running game because they fell behind by 3 touchdowns. They had to throw the ball, and that didn't help because Northwest knew that as well. They just could tee off on Chance Fuller and go after him. But I think there'll be more balance as the year goes. But, again, as we said, hopefully lessons learned and ball security. And I know it's been addressed, but it's taken to heart and can turn that around.
And speaking of Chance Fuller, if I read right, he became the career passing yard leader at Fort Hays State in the Northwest Missouri game. Yeah, he already set the record for touchdowns in a career, and he needed, I think, 115. Did that early in the game. I think by early second quarter, he became the career passing leader. So, yeah, he's going to go down. He's going to break a lot more records. The 61 pass attempts wasn't quite what Robert Long had done, but it was only 4 off. And he's already attempted 63, ironically, against Missouri Western last year in their loss. But yeah, he's going to go down as one of the greats. He's such a great student of the game. He's got some ability, obviously, a good thrower, and he's just fun to watch. But, set that record. Unfortunately for him, I mean, he didn't care that he broke the record. He was more frustrated the team lost, and that's kind of what you like to see in your quarterback. Boy, Robert Long mentioned takes me back to when I was in school, and John Vincent was the head coach, and they played the run and shoot. Was that right? If I recall?
There was a lot more shooting than running.
Yes, there was.
That's some of those games that lasted 4+ hours. But I think he had 65 in 2 different games.
Wow.
That's the school record for pass attempts. Chance had 63 last year in St. Joe, and then he's done 61 a couple of times. So.
Okay,
I'd rather see him in the upper 40s, the mid 40s,
Sure.
but we'll see.
Okay, this might be a tricky question. If you don't feel comfortable answering, you don't have to. But when Chance was a freshman, he kind of alternated with the quarterback at the time, Jason or Jacob.
Jacob Mazzara, yeah.
Okay, they alternated series or every other series or something like that, so Chance could get a feel to play when he was and when Jason was gone. Is that going to happen this year? Do you know or not? Or are they going to look for W's?
I don't think so. It's hard to say. And Northwest has always been really good and they're kind of got a 2-quarterback system right now.
Okay.
Northwest has always done that with some of the young guys, give them a series here or there. Chance really didn't play a lot that freshman year until toward the end. In fact, he made his first career start at Northwest when they won an MIAA title, and so that was quite a feat. And then he kind of took it over from there, and then shared it with Jacob. But they just felt he gave them the best chance to win that game, literally. But I don't know. I don't sense they're going to do that, but I'm not opposed. You get a possession in the second quarter. I'm not going to say you waste a possession, but I think there's a lot of benefit in letting your backup maybe get a series, especially when it's apparent he's probably going to be your guy next year. Northwest has always done that, and even if they've got a clear starter, the backup usually gets a couple of possessions per game, and I think that does make a difference. And then, get in a position where you need him, you get some experience there. But I guess time will tell on that. Okay. That's not been the philosophy normally with this coaching staff, but I guess you never know. But I don't sense that's going to be the case.
Well, and also the game would dictate. You're not going to put in somebody if you're down 20 points. So. But if you're up 20, okay. Thursday they have the home opener. They take on Missouri Western. Missouri Western was a 35-0 winner over Central Oklahoma, and for whatever reason, Missouri Western has been a pain in the butt for Fort Hays State the last 4 or 5 years. Oh. They have not won They have not won against Missouri Western since like 2017.
Yeah, lost 3 in a row, and they've been just some bizarre games. Weird things. Last year's game, Fort Hays was in control, and then they weren't, and then they were again, and then they weren't. They had 4 turnovers, 2 direct scores, a pick six and a scoop and score, but 2 other turnovers that led to points. 28 points off of turnovers in that game last year in St. Joe for Missouri Western. It's going to be a tough game. They've got a really good quarterback in Reagan Jones out of Wichita Northwest. He is a legitimate dual-threat quarterback. He's probably at his best when he's scrambling, keeping plays alive. He runs well. He ran for over 100, threw for over 100 last week in their win over Central Oklahoma. So a big challenge for the Tiger defense that has a lot of new faces in spots. So those type of quarterbacks are difficult because you just don't know. And yes, Chance Fuller will scramble a little bit. I don't think many teams game plan and worry about him beating them with his legs. And if he breaks a couple of runs, you'll live with that. If you let Reagan Jones break a couple of runs, you may be down a couple of touchdowns. He's got that ability. Plus, he's got a good arm, and a good running back core behind him. They'll play 4 backs and rotate them, and they're all really good. So this is going to be a big challenge tomorrow night for Fort Hays State, no doubt. Missouri Western, I think, is the real deal. They had a good season a year ago. They kind of had their ups and their downs, and when they were up, they were really good. And I think they feel they have a team this year that can contend for the postseason, be it a bowl game, but I know they're thinking playoffs and contend for the MIAA title. So you hate to put too much stock in a Week 2 matchup, but, man, I think this is a big one tomorrow for Fort Hays State.
Talking to the play-by-play voice of the Fort Hays State Tigers, Gerard Wellbrok, and I guess my question would be, the way the MIAA schedule works, you're going to play kind of back-to-back with, the last couple of years it's been Northwest Missouri and then Missouri Western. You think there's been some kind of a let down after the Northwest Missouri State game, or Missouri Western has just had their numbers, for lack of a better term?
I think it's more Missouri Western's had their number. Okay. Obviously you play Northwest, you get beat up. They're physical. Fort Hays got some guys a bit beat up. They won't be 100% tomorrow, but I'm sure a lot of teams could say that. So because they came out of the gates great last year in St. Joe. I think a lot of it might be the focus for 60 minutes. And in last year's team, there was something missing last year. I don't completely know what it is. I don't know if anybody knows. I don't know if we'll ever figure it out. You could feel it the first day of practice when camp started. You felt it throughout the preseason, even after the loss. There's a different vibe and a different feel around this team. So win or lose, I don't think it's going to be because of a letdown. They've had a good week of practice. They've taken to heart the mistakes. Jaquan Tillis, the running back who fumbled the kick return and also fumbled on that first possession. He took complete ownership and has worked hard to correct that problem and not let it happen again. So there was been no finger pointing. So, I mean, I like the feel of this team, but it's, you still got to correct those things. So I don't think it's being a letdown. I think it's Missouri Western is good, but but I think it is just weird. I mean, this has been some weird stuff. Fort Hays State's they've had more. The last 3 years they've lost to Western. They've had 9 turnovers in those 3 games. There's not been another team in the MIAA they've played over the last 3 years that had 9 combined turnovers. Some of that's them. Some of that you got to give credit to Missouri Western. Sure. They've got a very opportunistic defense. They're always physical. They've got a good secondary. I think that year in and year out, Northwest is a great defensive line. I think Missouri Western competes for the best defensive line in the MIAA. So I think there's factors there, but it's just been goofy, weird games for whatever reason, and so hopefully Fort Hays State can kind of buck that trend and win, because it's been 3 in a row, but it's been 14 of the last 16 have been won by the Griffins. It's crazy.
I hadn't gone that far back. I did not realize that. A lot of Central Golden Belt kids on the Fort Hays State team. I know Miles Mingus has been talked about a lot. Anybody from the Barton County Golden Belt area stand out on last Thursday?
Well, Miles, I thought, did well. He's now defensive end, moving from that linebacker spot, and I thought he had a great game and did well. That's a tough O-line to kind of learn it all under, and I think it's going to be a process for him. He played well. He's got great athleticism, his size, and his wingspan. But I think, every game is just going to get a little bit better. Probably more just a comfort level with him, but, nobody works harder at it and is prepared and doing what it needs to be done to be a successful DN. Gavin Hazelhorst from here in Hays High, I know a lot of Great Bend fans will remember from his days playing for the Indians. I thought he had a good game, but you could see some rust there. He hasn't played for a couple of years after his time at K-State in a red shirt, and they moved him to a different position. So he's kind of trying to get comfortable once again with that defensive end spot, which he excelled at in high school. The D-line has a lot of fresh young faces out there, but I think they're just going to continue to grow. Alex Schramer had a great punt return, which set up a score, and I think he's going to continue to stride there and getting some time at wide receiver. And I think that's something, as his career goes, you're going to see him more and more in that slot back position as he continues to grow in that. But he's already an excellent return man, and so he's already leaving his mark in that regard. So, I mean, they keep plugging along, and it's fun to watch those guys, that local talent, excel. And it's still you got a veteran quarterback, you got a veteran offensive line, but there's a lot of young and newer faces at a lot of key positions. You kind of forget about that, and I think just every week they're going to be better. But obviously in the MIAA, you got to get better the next game and find a way to win, or be like last year, and you find yourself in a world of hurt pretty early. So that's why I think it's so important for Fort Hays State to find a way to win this game tomorrow night.
Special thanks to Gerard Wellbrok from Fort Hays State. A little extended time here today. I'm going to change subjects a little bit, Gerard, and I'm going to go to round ball. What is Mark Johnson's ball club looking like?
I think it's, you lose Jared Vitztum, and he was one of the more prolific players in Fort Hays history. Mark Johnson's called him probably the best defensive rebounder he's ever coached, and it's argue when you look at what Gerard did. He was a prolific scorer and could shoot the three, and with his size, I mean, you're not going to replace that. And a guy who's been in the program for 6 years, I mean, you're not going to replace it. I mean, I think they feel they've brought in some parts, but they were such a good defensive team a year ago. I don't know if they can duplicate that in one of the reasons, because Jared Vitztum was a lockdown rebounder, and teams got one shot when they had the ball. It'll be yet to be seen if they can match that, but I think they offensively may have a chance to be a little bit better. So I think they're pretty optimistic, and obviously this time of the year most are, but they have to replace point guard Nige Wright, who could have come back, but his body just kind of wouldn't let him. I mean, he spent more time in the training room getting ready to practice and play than the actual practice and game time, and decided it was time to move on. He had already graduated, and but I think they had some young guys in the system. Caleb Hammocky had a great, really, last couple of years, and technically just a sophomore because he got that first year back because of COVID. Just continues to get better and better, and I think he's going to be, before his time is done, one of the all-time greats. So I think they're optimistic. It's going to be a little bit different-looking team in some regards, but I think they feel they got a chance to be pretty good again.
Well, and if I know Mark Johnson at all, they will play defense. So,
oh, they'll find a way. And you start with Gabe Peschel from Marysville and played at Cloud County. He was one of the main reasons that defense was good. I mean, he could lock the guy across from him down, and he's back again. And that's a pretty good place to start on defense. And we saw his offense get better. I think it's going to get even better with another year. So, I mean, I think the Tigers aren't going to go anywhere. I think they're going to be in the picture just like they were last season.
Now switching to the tough luck Lady Tigers, Tony Hobson and the Lady Tigers. Boy, they just can't seem to, I hate to use the term win the big one, but they've had a couple Central Regionals at home that they've lost, and last year was no exception.
Yeah, that was a tough one. In fact, it's still kind of tough to talk about. That one,
really?
Of all the three, that one, I don't know, kind of maybe because he lost it to a conference foe, but that one's been a little bit harder pill to swallow. But I think, you feel bad because you had Whitney Randall and Jaden Hobbs, and Jaden's going to go down as one of the great all-time guards in 4 days history, and you couldn't get to an Elite Eight with her, but they're not going anywhere. They reloaded. They brought in a couple freshmen that I think are going to play right away, at least be in the mix. And, they had a player, a UNO transfer, who sat out last year to a minor knee. I think it was a knee procedure, but clear up an injury that's kind of been nagging her. They made the call to, let's just take care of it now and then we're done with it. I think it's going to be an interesting team because I think they've got more depth on the front line than they've ever had before with what they've brought in and what they return. And yet they feel they've got some really good guards with what returns and what they've brought in. I mean, it could be a team that goes, in fifth gear, or they drop it down to low and just pound it inside. I think they're going to have a lot of different ways to attack you offensively and maybe be able to adjust to different styles of play defensively a little bit more with their personnel. But they have a deep front line, and I think it's going to be an interesting team to watch. Their challenge is a lot of new working parts early on, and their schedule, their first 8 games are going to go to an exempt tournament in Kansas City that's going to have 4 Elite Eight teams and 4 other Elite Eight caliber like themselves there. And then they have a crossover with the NSIC. They're going to go up to up north to play in South Dakota, and they're going to get 2 good teams there. And then they're going to come back home and get Minnesota State, who gave them all they wanted in the first round of the regional a year ago, a Minnesota State team that's going to return everybody.
Yeah,
so their first 7 or 8,
that Minnesota
State, 7 or 8 games, they could be in a position to where, just don't screw up when you get to conference play, and you may have an NCAA bid locked up already, or you're going to be behind the 8 ball. That kind of happened to Central Missouri last year, and they were playing catch-up the whole season because they had a very ambitious non-conference. That's kind of where Fort Hays State is at, but it'll be fun to watch because they're going to find out real quick where they stack up and what they need to do. But I don't think they're going to go anywhere. They're going to be in the hunt for another conference title and hosting a regional again, I think.
Well, Gerard, you mentioned Minnesota State, and that little point guard that was playing up there, she impressed the heck out of me.
That was
and
the wildest and most frantic-paced game I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That was crazy.
I thank you for the extended time, Gerard, and we'll touch base later.
Hey, good to talk to you, Mike. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Always good to talk Fort Hays State, for me at least, and Gerard knows what he's talking about. You're listening to Sports Day on 1590 KVGB AM at 95.5 FM.
With us here at Barton, we're excited about the fall sports season that is now underway and invite you to attend a game or a match and experience the rich tradition of Cougar athletics. For complete schedules and results, visit bartonsports.com.
If you need physical therapy, consider Advanced Therapy in Great Bend and Progressive Therapy in Larned and Hayes.
Hello, this is Austin Alford. I'd like to introduce to you today one of the most popular pieces of equipment we have to train core strength, shoulder stability, core stability, and even to improve balance. Come check out the core sticks for yourself at Progressive Physical Therapy Center in Hayes.
You don't need to hurt. Physical therapy can help. Call Advanced or Progressive Therapy and Sports Medicine to explore your treatment options and get your life back.
4x4 compact tractor.
Shaw stands for skilled hands at work.
And he lives up to the name as he uses his versatile tractor to make
the earth take the shape that I wanted to take.
And the Allens fire up their John Deere 3032E compact tractor to
grow about 9 acres of flowers.
Because the beauty of having land is deciding how to make it yours. There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Dreaming of adventure beyond your backyard? NerdWallet can help you compare and find the smartest credit cards to get there. Use NerdWallet to compare travel cards with bonus miles to go from working from home to relaxing far, far away. Then use NerdWallet to compare cashback cards and turn everyday purchases into a beachside cabana big enough for the whole family.
More sand for the third tower.
She's the only boss you'll be answering to this week. Nice castle. Compare your way there. Find the smartest financial products for you on NerdWallet.
Okay, welcome back to Sports Day on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm the Hesh, and Mike Corson rejoins me as this is the Mike and Hesh show without Webby here. So Webby should be back tomorrow.
What was this I saw you guys after I left yesterday? You pulled out my toys, and Patrick Burnett, voice of the Panthers, says, what do I have, cooties?
We had that discussion, yes. And he's putting back the helmet on.
I'm just a bobblehead.
That is what we talked. I don't know if you heard it, but we were talking about, can you imagine putting nachos or ice cream in that helmet? That would be a section of nachos, not just a family of nachos.
Forget the calories. I want to know how much it costs at the stadium. For a big helmet full of ice cream, really, what, $400?
Yeah, you probably need to take out a loan for that one. So, okay. So, I have a little bone to pick with.
Is it with me?
No, it is with your significant other, Angela or Angie? I'm sorry.
Well, I call her Angela, but she goes by Angie.
Okay, Angie. Okay, Angie, you can see your man today for this show because there's nobody there. But I will tell her I like sitting in that chair because I look in the mirror every day and I kind of know what's there. So why would I not want people to see the back of my head or my back?
And I argue with her, too. Hey, he's blocking me out, which makes me comfortable.
There you go.
But I suppose it does make for bad TV.
Well, are we really in the TV business? It is radio.
I
know we are video, and we're all platforms now, right?
We are promoting.
And how's do you have any latest updates on how we're doing on YouTube and that good stuff?
We're getting there. Our partial show from Friday was our heaviest hitter so far.
Maybe that's why.
but the first part wasn't on. But today I just got access to our old Twitter account with 300 built-in followers.
Okay.
So we're going to utilize that.
We're going to hopefully build off of that.
Right.
So, okay. Well, okay. Here is the top 25, Associated Press top 25. I'll spit it out here. Number 1 is Alabama. No surprise there. Georgia is now number 2. Ohio State is 3. They kind of flip-flop. Michigan and then Clemson. Any comments on those?
Ohio State was picked number 1 coming in, and I mean they played the number 5 team that might be legitimate Notre Dame, so they're punishing them awful fast. But then again, the rankings don't mean much. Georgia played a ranked team in a kind of a neutral site and floored them,
and they did. That was impressive.
And so yeah, I think they're the national champs, and I think they lost 14, 15 kids to the NFL, so you'd expect a drop off. But the fact that they beat up a ranked team like that, maybe. I just don't want Alabama to win.
But it was also a ranked team from the Pac-12. I mean, it was Oregon, and I know it's, Paul Feinbaum basically says the Pac-12 will not have anybody in the playoffs this year because of that one game.
Well, look at Florida. Utah was number 7.
And Florida and Utah got the butts kicked.
And they were barely picked to win it, and then they got beat.
Right. Okay, so other members of the top 15, this is Big 12. It's Oklahoma's number 7. Baylor's number 9, and Oklahoma State is number 11.
I watched the Oklahoma UTEP game, and the Sooners came out and scored 3 touchdowns in about, for dramatic purposes, I'll say 3 minutes, but it was a little bit longer. It slowed down after that, but they showed how explosive they are. That's the quickest offense I think I've ever seen. The Hayes kid, Jaron Knack, got in, played most of the second half at linebacker,
jumped a defender and got to the quarterback once, got on TV.
Well, that's always important.
That's always playing for.
You got to make your appearance on television. And then in other receiving votes, Texas is in there. The Wildcats of Kansas State have 18 votes, so they are receiving votes in the top 25. What do you think about that matchup with Missouri on Saturday?
I wonder if it's on TV. I need to check. But, yeah, we're ready for some real competition. 34 points against your openers, not real exciting. So hopefully it was just kind of a warm-up game, and against some stiffer competition, they'll throw in the big boys. But what I'm more interested in, Alabama, Texas. Texas wants to go join the SEC. Here we go.
Ask Missouri about moving to the SEC. I mean, yes.
So, yeah, when we say K-State, Missouri, I have no idea how good Missouri is because maybe as a Big 8, Big 12 school, they're okay, but, of course, they're going to tank down there.
Right. And then here is your schedule for the high school football this week. Hayes High and Great Bend, they play in Great Bend. Hayes got that victory, as you saw, and then Great Bend was a loser. So any ideas on Hayes Great Bend? Obviously a big rivalry.
And it used to be that you never knew. It was almost like the favorite was going to lose that game, but Great Bend's going to have to prove itself. It's got the long losing streak. The promising thing is they put up 27 points in week 1, and that Hayes is kind of a two-man show, so slow that down, and you're right there in the ball game.
Other Western Athletic Conference games this week, Dodge City is at Junction City. Dodge is 1-0, and Junction City 0-1. Garden City is at Wichita North, and Liberal travels to Emporia. In the Central Kansas League, Halstead 1-0. They will be in Hoisington to take on the Cardinals at 0-1. Lions and Larned. This ought to be a fabulous matchup. Lions is 0-1. Larned is 0-1. And the Indians are coming off that 67-0 loss to Pratt.
It's not a state title game as long as it should be competitive.
Well, I mean, I don't want to downgrade either one, and I'm from Larned, so maybe I feel like I can do this. But, you know, years ago, K-State, they called it the toilet bowl. I don't know if I should go there or not, but it's too late. I'm already there.
I believe Lions has the former coach from Larned.
Oh, really?
So that kind of makes it even more interesting.
Oh, that is more interesting. Okay. And then Heston travels to Pratt. They're both 1-0. Smoky Valley is at Haven, and Hillsboro takes on Nickerson. Other 8-man games, La Crosse will take on Victoria, and Meade will be taking on Hodgman County. Those are the high school football games of the Friday night. So we're just about out of time. Any final thoughts as we wrap it up? I think, you know, not to brag, but we did a little bit better this time around than we did last Friday.
This is practice for this Friday.
And that's right. We're ready to go for this Friday because Webby's out again. So you've been listening to Sports Day. I'll get it right. I called it Sports Talk a couple of times, and you know, Webby's going to give me all sorts of crap for that, I know.
We'll get that logo tattooed maybe on my forehead so you can see it.
Well, he makes fun of me because doing Trading Post, I have it written there and the phone number. And
you get it perfect.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I don't know about that part, but it is my my binky, he keeps calling me. So I need the binky.
I'm a big fan of the written word.
That's it for Sports Day.